Hello, and welcome to this video about using Mode2 on the new grandMA3 system. Mode2 allows you to program with the full grandMA2 software on the grandMA3 hardware. This means you can use the fully tried and tested grandMA2 software while we put our finishing touches to the grandMA3 system. In this video, I'm going to show you which grandMA3 devices can use Mode2. I'm going to show you around the grandMA3 hardware, and I'm going to show you how the grandMA2 software works on the new grandMA3 platform. Let's get started. Mode2 will work on the grandMA3 full size and the grandMA3 Lite. You can also use the control room versions of the full size and Lite to run Mode2.
Since this video was first produced, we have made improvements in the software. In the future, you will be able to use Mode2 on the Compact and Compact XT models, as well as the replay unit. Mode2 will not work with the Command Wing version.
As well as this, you can use the processing units, which will work a bit like an NPU. And finally, you can also use the grandMA3 nodes, which will work just like the nodes from the grandMA2 series. Even the on-PC versions will give parameters to grandMA2 on PC.
First, turn on the console. It can take a few minutes to boot, so let it go through the sequence. You're looking for this pop-up. When you see it, press the grandMA2 icon. If the touchscreen is not configured, you can use the keyboard to select it. When it's finished booting, you'll be in fully working grandMA2 software. The back panel is very similar to grandMA2. You have a lamp connection on the left and on the right. New on the grandMA3, you have an air filter in the centre that must be kept clean. Let's have a closer look at the connectors. You have a power connector and an on-off switch. Next to that you have the DMX ports, which are the same as grandMA2. Next you have two display ports. These are your two external monitor connections. Below that you have the MIDI port, the SMPTE timecode port, USB ports, audio in, and a smaller DC remote connection. You have two Ethernet ports, which are the same as grandMA2. The third Ethernet port is not used. The SP-DIF connectors are also not used. Apart from that, you should find all the connections familiar. The front panel should also be familiar to you. We have faders and buttons and touchscreens. The new letterbox touchscreens have the information that would have been at the bottom of the large screens on the grandMA2. On the right hand side you can see we have 5 encoders and 2 small touchscreens, one of which is the multi-touch screen, the other has buttons laid out in the same way as they are on the grandMA2. Down the bottom you can see the drawer for the keyboard. I'm going to show you each section in detail, starting with the executors on the left and working over towards the right. In the playback section you have your motorized faders. Each fader has the button below and the 2 buttons above. The rotary encoders have no function. However, they do light up when you play back an executor. Down the bottom you have your separate executor buttons. On the full-size consoles, in the centre of the fader panel you have programmer and executor time controls. These can be controlled by the encoders, and you can use the buttons at the bottom to turn the functions on and off. The encoders and buttons above have no function. On the right of your executors you have your main playback controls. This is very similar to grandMA2. You have a go, go back and pause, and the two long faders. The touchscreen at the top shows you the functionality. The two buttons and encoders have no function. On the far right, we have our multi-touch screen with 16 X buttons below. You can access all the X keys on the touchscreen, including the missing keys in the middle. The encoders have no function. Around here we have all the other keys, which are in a different layout to the grandMA2. On the far right you have your level wheel, and the right-hand touchscreen has the buttons in the correct order from the grandMA2 layout. Let's have a closer look at this screen. As you can see, all the keys from grandMA2 have been laid out here in the same order as the grandMA2 panel. In the top left, Trackpad turns this into a trackpad that replaces the missing trackball from the grandMA2. The mouse key is in the top right hand corner to choose the different functions. The keys key returns you back to the normal screen. The Grandmaster is on the letterbox screen in the top right hand corner. It can also be operated from the encoder, which you can see here is flashing, just like the blackout key does on the grandMA2. Looking at the dual encoders, you have the 4 encoders from the grandMA2 plus the 5th encoder, which is your screen encoder. The letterbox screen contains all of the lower section of screen 2 from the grandMA2 and works exactly the same way. Rotating the inner part of the encoder is the same as the grandMA2 encoder. The outer part is the fast rotate option. The button is used to toggle through normal, fine and ultrafine resolutions. For attributes like gobo, you can click the inner encoder wheel to get your pop-up screen. On the screen encoder, the inner wheel behaves like you're used to, and the outer wheel is a scroll fast option. The button is the encoder button and can be used to bring up the clear screen pop-up. Now looking at the larger screens, as you know, we have moved the lower section down onto the letterbox windows. So we now have some extra space at the bottom of the main screens. On the right screen, you have your command line history and tools, setup and backup. On the next screens, you have a macro pool and also your executor page control keys. All these settings can be adjusted in the setup menu. Press the menu button to open up the setup window. In here we have a new setting, grandMA3 settings. This gives you the option to change some of the settings on the grandMA3 setup. You can control the macro settings, your fader backlight and encoder backlights. Here you can set an offset on the macros, so you can decide which macro they start from at the new macro pool at the bottom of the other page. At the top of the screen you have Tools, Backup and Setup buttons, so you can jump between the different menus quickly. You may have noticed the new backlit faders. These mimic the colours of your executors. If you want to change the appearance, press a sign 3 times, then the executor, then choose your colour. As you can see, this now appears on the fader as well. Lastly, I want to show you programming a sequence. I've selected a group, turn them on, use the encoders to change their position, chosen a colour, then I'm going to store that into an executor. Clear the programmer and play it back. As you can see, everything is the same as the grandMA2.
That was just a brief introduction to using Mode2 on the grandMA3 system. You should now know how to boot a grandMA3 console into Mode2 and how the grandMA2 software differs on the grandMA3 platform. If you need any help or support, please contact your local distributor, or you can contact us at help@malighting.com. Thank you.